Cougar Sports Saturday here on this BYU basketball game day. Mitch, Harper, and Kyle Ireland. Big 12 hoops, man, always delivers. It's a different league in the Big 12. It's a different league. Brett Yormark on a broadcast on Peacock earlier this week teased a Tuesday announcement of some kind for the Big 12 Conference Tournament. It's going to be a big announcement on Tuesday, so we'll see what happens there. We're about 4.5 weeks away until the Big 12 basketball tournament in Kansas City. Some finals around the Big 12. Iowa State takes down Baylor 72-69 in Ames. So Baylor's next game is against the BYU Cougars on Tuesday in Waco and Foster Pavilion. And then right now we're watching Kansas State and TCU in Fort Worth. 6.7 seconds remaining. Tied up at 82. Can you imagine if that would have been, you know what the half of 82 is, right? It's 41. So you got 6.7 and 41. 41. That just went over your head. I think it went completely over your head.
I'm starting to see billboards with 6-7. And
yeah,
let's just move on. Let's move on.
It's totally done. Like I saw the originator of 6-7, Talon Kinney, last week in person. The Kansas commit. Mm-hmm. We're going to see him at the Marriott Center next year because he's signed with Kansas. And I wanted to say to him, Talon, you did us all a disservice, man. Your 6-7 nonsense set it all ablaze. But we'll keep tabs on K-State and TCU. And then also in Allen Fieldhouse, Talon Kinney's future home, Kansas Jayhawks up 60-48 on the Utah Utes. 6:16 to go in the second half. Utah's been hanging around with Kansas. And then in Tucson, Oklahoma State, first media timeout. Tied up at 6 with the number 1 ranked Arizona Wildcats down in the desert in Tucson. Again, it's a different league. It's the Big 12, man. It's a buzzsaw. It's a gauntlet. And TCU takes the lead. First lead of the night for TCU. They're up 83-82. K-State, I think, is going to have a new coach after this year, don't you think? It feels like that's the case with a little bit of the Big 12 where you got
run its course.
Arizona State with Hurley. I think he's the way he's talking in post games.
When he was in Provo a month ago, it was like, oh, man. Like, this guy knows he's done.
He's talking about Chick-fil-A. I feel like Hurley's probably lame duck coach. Jerome Tang with K-State. Wes Miller at Cincinnati. They had a bad loss earlier this week, losing to West Virginia. They had
video
a big
of him talking to the fans, going and apologizing right after the loss. I was like, oh, my goodness.
Like, I respect the effort, I guess, but, dude, come on. You're not winning any hearts. You're losing your job. So we might see some new coaches, I think, in the Big 12. But this league's so good, man. What do you think of the Big 12 and what we're seeing around the conference so far right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the best or the second best league in college basketball right now.
Who's better?
I think it's the Big 12. I do think that they're the best league.
No, who would you say is the biggest contender, though?
I would say that the Big 10 is right there. I just think that I think the Big 12 is deeper, I would say.
Well, I think the Big 12, what's weird about this league, because we've laid it out, BYU's 5-4 in the league right now. They're midway point. Game number 10 tonight. The 5 wins have been against teams that aren't that great, but they're all capable on any given night of taking you down. And we saw that with Oklahoma State. I mean, Oklahoma State's, kind of in that 60 range with net 50s, high 50s. But I think that what makes the Big 12 so good this year is you've got 5 or 6 teams that could go to the Final Four. And I think this could be the year where the Big 12 has 2 teams in the Final Four. I think that's what makes the Big 12 so tough this year. But you're right. I mean, it is fun to see BYU in a league that's just so good like this conference. And it's challenging in spots like BYU's in right now where they're in a losing streak, but it's also rewarding because you just simply get one win. You can start to turn the fortunes of your season because, again, this league is so good.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, though. It's how you look at the potential of these teams because of what the tournament does and how many of these teams, whether you're looking at the Big 10 or the Big 12, that can make it to that final weekend. And that's where I think that both of those conferences are kind of at the same spot right now. Like, if Arizona won the national championship right now, or Houston, like, it wouldn't surprise anybody. But at the same time, like, would you be surprised if Michigan or Nebraska or Illinois won? Right? I mean, I think that there's a lot of parity in college basketball right now across these top leagues. And I think that that's the cool thing about the Big 12 as well is, I mean, you see a game like you had in the middle of the week where Oklahoma State's able to beat BYU. That's a game where you went into that game thinking BYU was going to get the win. They were going to get back on track. I just don't know if that's the case anymore, right? Like, BYU has to be able to show that they are at that level where they are an Iowa State and Arizona, Houston. They just haven't done it so far.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even against Utah, in Salt Lake, BYU, they only won by 5. In Salt Lake, or in Provo, Utah was shooting lights out, and they're the worst team in the league, and they're at 1-8 in conference play. So, yeah, this league top to bottom is really good, and it's difficult. And that's where, for BYU, if they can end this losing streak and get back on track, you just get one win, get on the winning side of things again. It's a big deal to get any sort of victory in the Big 12, but there are layers to which games are the biggest ones. And tonight against Houston, one of the toughest tests in the conference, because Houston 20-2 overall, 8-1 in conference play. They have been excellent this season. I've been impressed too with Kansas. I thought last week, I'm like, geez, Kansas is playing out of their minds against BYU. Then they came down to earth in the second half a little bit, but they go on the road, beat Texas Tech in Lubbock on Monday. Now, granted, Texas Tech didn't have Christian Anderson, their star guard, but Kansas looking like what you think Kansas will be in the Big 12, and that's been different, since BYU joined this conference. Kansas has been a shell of itself. They're looking like one of the top teams once again, and they're playing pretty well now in the second half against Utah. Iowa State, I thought in that 2-game stretch where they lost to Kansas and Cincinnati on the road, I thought, okay, fade Iowa State. They're gonna be, I didn't say bottom out, but I thought, okay, they're gonna go to the middle of the pack. They've been hammering teams. They escape with a win today against Baylor. Really good basketball at the top of this conference. It's a well-resourced league in basketball. It's programs that care a lot about their basketball programs. It's an awesome conference. I love that BYU is part of this thing. You hope that they can stack up some more wins and stack up some quality days here in the near future, starting tonight. But I love the quest of the Big 12, because it's nice to be in a league where you're at 5-4 at the midway point, and BYU in brackets is still viewed as a 5 or a 6 seed. That's a nice luxury to have. 5-4 in the WCC days is like, well, you're not even going to go to the NIT. So it's an awesome league, and if you can go 10-8 in this conference, maybe you're good enough to make a run in the NCAA tournament. But obviously there was a higher expectation for BYU, and they look to turn it around tonight against Houston.
It's funny that you brought up the WCC there, because I had that exact thought the other night when Portland beat Gonzaga. I was like,
where were those losses when Gonzaga was in the league with BYU? Exactly. They never lost to anyone.
And it was BYU losing to Portland. And it was like those losses were so upsetting. And that's kind of where I felt like that loss to Oklahoma State wasn't like losing to Portland. It wasn't like losing to Pepperdine. And so you're at a different level now where you can absorb that loss a little bit easier. It's crazy how in 3 years things have changed so much.
Every game in the Big 12 there's no bad losses. I mean, the only one that would be maybe a bad loss is K-State or Utah. But even then, it's like you go on the road in their building, it's quad 2 or quad 1 because the net ratings, these teams were hammering teams in non-conference play. Like, the Big 12 was the best league in non-conference, and that's why the net ratings, the Ken Palm ratings, they love the Big 12 because they just bounce within the top 75 because they were so good in non-conference. And then when you join league play, even when you lose, it's not that big of a dip. So BYU can turn things around in a hurry, but going back to Wednesday night, that loss, it just felt like they got to fix things in a hurry, and they'll look to do that tonight against Houston, 8:30 p.m. tip-off, pregame at 7:30 here on KSL. Let's dive into that matchup in greater detail with a three-pointer next. Kyle Ireland, Mitch Harper. We're live here on this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on Cougar Sports Saturday on KSL News Radio, the legacy home of the Cougars.